right, welcome to the Builders Behind the Brand podcast. My name is Mark, and today I'm excited to shine the spotlight on an amazing entrepreneur making waves in their industry. Today, we've got RoDevia Brigham, the brilliant mind behind Proposabid. So thanks for joining me so much.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Excited to be talking with you today.
Awesome. So for those who have never met you, what does your company do and who exactly do you help?
Yes, my company is Proposabid. That's Proposabid. And basically what we do is that we specialize in packaging and sourcing bids and estimations so that owners can compare apples to apples before signing off on those bids. In this, we help owners make clean, defensible CapEx decisions. And we also are able to work with property managers, asset managers, brokers, and real estate agents and others in which they're actually able to benefit because they're not stuck chasing vendors and explaining big gaps. And our role when they ask what we do is that we don't replace what they do. We help the property owners make decisions that stand up to investors and helps their team look good in the process by reducing those bid chaoses. So short and sweet, Proposabid manages capitals for property owners, and we sit above the systems that have that CapEx need as an infrastructure, in which we're able to layer standardize, source, and do defensible bids before they ever enter in those ecosystems.
Love it. Love it. And so what exactly makes your company unique? Are there others out there that are doing something similar, or are you guys really paving the way in something new?
Yeah, so I'd like to say that we are paving the way on something new. A lot of people assume that we're just another property maintenance software company like Yardi, RealPage, Leonardo, Latchel, or Property Meld, but we're completely different. And those systems are great. And what they're really good at is managing workflows, tickets, and compliance for property managers. But in that, what Proposabid does is that we actually manage the capital for owners. Like I said, we sit above those systems as a CapEx infrastructure. And in that, we're able to layer and have standardizations for the bids and estimations so that they're defendable for their investors themselves. So where property maintenance tools focus on, they focus on speed and ticket flow. We focus on the return on investment, the ROI, the auditability, and then investors' trust. So our job isn't to log work orders, it's to make sure every dollar of repair or renovation spend is defensible and investor ready. So we don't replace software, we make those systems accurate, compliant, and financially sound by cleaning what goes into them. So in short, software manages maintenance and Proposabid manages money.
Love it. Well said. Well said. And now, building this business, what's a win that you're proud of, most recently in getting to where you came from and being where you are now?
Yeah, I'd say my biggest win recently is just having connections with people who really understand what Proposabid is doing, and then also systematizing the workflows in order for property owners to win on the bid and estimation side. And what I mean by that is recently we did a bid and estimations a project for the Gene D'Arc out with the John Stewart Company out here in the Bay Area. And this lobby refresh was about 150 grand. And part of what Proposabid does is that we are able to do an intake on the properties from the staff themselves, create a customized RFP, and then market that RFP out to vendors. Now, in the beginning, the properties wanted a structured, like phased approach with architectural drawings. And one of the things that Proposabid does is that we're able to educate not only our clients, which is the owners and the property side, but we're also able to educate our vendors and have our vendors educate us because the market speaks. And so when this RFP went out, two of the vendors said, this isn't going to work because we're not going to give you architectural blueprints and drawings to submit with a bid package for 150K refresh. And we knew that going out there, but this is all about educating the owners on the process and how they can go ahead and curtail these issues later on in the process. And then the rest of the vendors said, we'll take a look. A lot of them flat out said, no, we will not submit bids to this. And so what that win was is that we were able to come back with a structured reply from the vendor on the vendor's behalf and advocate for recustomizing that RFP to an itemized bid, which is basically the materials, the cost, the labor. And then once that bid is won, then they will come in with the color schemes, the build outs and things like that. And so in that, Proposabid has this standard of we will be able to close our bids and estimations within 15 business days. And that's currently what we're doing on the average, which is unheard in the industry. And we're also able to gather at least 4 or more apples to apples bids for every project. This project brought in 7 bids, and our average is about 6.5. I say the half because sometimes you get bids that aren't quite itemized and customized to the RFP. So when that RFP was reissued, Proposabid was able to engage those vendors that were not interested and have those vendors go ahead and submit. And so the property owner was able to select the winning bid. We had 2 or 3 A+ bids because they're graded with terms and conditions, standardization, how closely do they match the RFP, what is the professional references, what is their licensing, what is their standards in the industry, how do they stack up against the other vendors. And once we were able to do that RFP refresh and submit that out, then the bids started coming in consistently within the 15 business days, which that's initially what we do in the first place. So that was a learning process, and that was a win because not only were we able to get those bids in, Proposabid standardizes that comparison. Who wants to look at? So the bid package itself is like 385 pages. Right, and ownership, on-site staff, going to court, taking rent, Section 8, HUD. You got inspectors on the property. You've got tenants running around. No one has the time to take a look at 300 plus pages. So what we do on the ownership's behalf is standardize those bids into a digestible a flow in which they're able to grid out. They get a grid out and they're able to see the dollar amounts, the terms and conditions side by side, a grading scale, and just go through maybe 15 slides where Proposabid is able to walk the client through a customized PowerPoint, and on the spot they were able to make a decision, which is unheard of. And the feedback was that, wow, we can hardly get 2 bids that match up with the same pricing, and all the pricing was 4 out of the 7 bids were within range, which was amazing. So that's the first win. And the second win is I have 2 clients, and my first client is everybody on the property side, and my second client is all the vendors and everybody that does vendor stuff. And so vendors are now starting to understand that Proposabid puts more work in front of them, more food on their plates, more opportunities to be sought after. And the vendors are starting to understand that their bids are not just being filed away in a file cabinet or in some Google Drive. They're not wasting their time. The estimators, their staff, their team is spending, an estimator may cost $80-$90 an hour. They drive out to these sites. They take notes. They come back. They're on estimate and using all this software just to get a look. And so what Proposabid does is that every single bid that comes in gets put in front of the owner. and the owner must take a look at those bids. And the second piece to that for the wins for our vendors is that a vendor will win a bid. They will win the award, which is something that is not done in the industry. And so,
efficiency and cost savings, right? I mean, those are,
yes,
every business can use that, and that's a massive win for everybody.
yes, I'm very proud. I enjoy this. I love helping my clients. So as you see, I'm constantly thinking and processing and trying to figure out how to streamline and make this as smooth and Amazon one click, choose your item as possible. And that's where we're heading.
I love it. I love it. And so I understand you have a bit of a tech background yourself. Obviously, you have to have, right, to go and build something so special like this. But how did you really get started in this space, you know, with Proposabid?
Yeah, so I work in identity access management, cybersecurity, and I've always had a if this then that mind frame. I also have found that I'm very foundational with friends, family, colleagues. I build foundations. And so there was a project that I was working on about 4 years ago in which I had to automate. And I was thinking about how can I just take this off of my plate and take this off of other people's plates so that they could go and do other things. I was in the shower and, I'm brushing my teeth, and my partner who works in property management, I just hollered out the shower. I said, if you could automate anything, and I always have these conversations, if you could automate anything, what would it be? And she stops and she thinks and she says, if I could just get vendors to pick up the phone, give me bids that are apples to apples in a timely fashion so I could get those to ownership so that they can make a financially relevant decision, that would be great. And the way she said it is why are you asking me this? Are you going to fix this? And she went back to, putting on her makeup or whatever it was she was doing. I said, well, I shouted out the shower. Well, how hard could that be? You just make some phone calls, right? And people submit, and come to find out, it is a difficult process. Now, when you have a portfolio, let's say you're a property owner and you have 100 multifamilies. So that means you have staff on site, or maybe you don't have the proper staff. And that staff is not in construction management. They're not, they don't know how to read RFPs. They don't know any of this. They don't even know how to really read the bids. They don't have the time. So I said, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and figure it out. So the first process I started with was picking her brain, and I know that she felt like she was being in an autopsy, right? Because what does this feel like when this process happens? What would you like when this happens? Like, what are the major steps that you would need in order for this to flow as smooth as possible? And so that was the first part, was getting the workflow, and then the second part was what does an RFP look like in the wild? And so I studied RFPs for school districts. Those are like 500 pages long. And then it had the drawings, it had the spec sheets. I said, okay, I need to whittle this down so that our construction side, our vendor side, isn't overwhelmed, but they get the information that they need in order to be able to make a decision on whether or not they want to submit. And then I have to create an intake for my owner side, my property side, so that they're not overwhelmed as on-site staff, but I'm getting as much information as I can in order to create customized RFPs. So yeah, and all of that happened within the first, the framework itself, the foundation is like, okay, so as on-site staff, what needs to happen? You got to pick up the call, you got to pick up the phone, make phone calls. Then you got to wait. Then somebody needs to call you back. When they call you back, you tell them what you need. When you tell them what they need, when they tell them what they need, then the bids come in. Once the bids come in, do they match your needs? If they don't, then you got to go back to the vendor and ask for corrections. When the corrections come in, then you send them to the property. And that's the flow. But there's so many steps in between that. And that's the customer relations. That's the management of information. And so that's what Proposabid takes on. And I've got this photo on my website of Dolly back in the 70s when Dolly was on the phone. Dolly Parton from a 9 to 5, and
Yep.
she's on the phone, and she's taking notes. And I said, all you have to do is just be Dolly. We'll handle the rest. And so that's how Proposabid got started.
I love it. Solving problems, right? If you can solve a big problem, there's obviously, big money in solving big problems. And again, also fulfillment, right? When you get to help people out with something, taking a pain point off their plate and being able to solve that for them, nothing better, right? So I think you built something really cool. And, what I'd love to understand is, how have you grown your client base? How do you expand from here? How do you make Proposabid even larger than it is?
Yeah, so that's been a piece in which has been very organic, and it's usually word of mouth. One investor tells another investor about Proposabid. One property owner tells another property owner about Proposabid. I just did some work with the Archdiocese, so the deacon is telling his facilities manager about us. I just recently reached out to MedPen. Adam Root, if you're listening to this, I'm waiting on that call. And having these conversations with folks, and it's a process because it's something that's never been articulated and manifested into a tangible resource before.
Yeah.
In that, I'm finding that just really going out and meeting and shaking people's hands. Gotcha. I was thinking about, LinkedIn mass blasts, and that's not me, really. Just bombarding people with, I can't say it's not me. I'm just not very familiar with the marketing piece. I'm very familiar with how the business works, and then going out and just explaining it to people and having folks take a chance, like 4.5 with Marie Ann. She put me on. I said, hey, I would love to do some work for you for free. And then you tell me how it went, and you give me a review. And she had a home with some needs, and it was a 2-part need. And so we learned from that experience, and she got her needs met from a 4.5. Thanks, Marianne. So that's how I'm currently doing it. I definitely am looking to systematize that a little more and get the word out.
No, that's super cool. It's so funny when you speak to a lot of entrepreneurs and people that started a business, the first thing that everybody wants to do is, I built this shiny new toy. I've spent so much time, effort, and money building this. Give me money, right? And so I love that you've got that mindset of, hey, come in for free. Let me prove it to you. Let me show you what we're worth, and give me feedback, right? And I think, watching people build businesses like that in an organic way is so much better, right? Because you're getting real feedback from real customers. You're actually able to iterate, make your processes better, make your product better. And then again, the results are going to speak for themselves, right? So mainly referrals and education, right? So if you can educate more people doing things like this, getting to chat with, people like myself and posting on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff, I think that's, there's an education component to it for sure. But based on the bit I know about you and even chatting to you, I think it's going to be no problem for you. Even on the networking side, once people get to know you and they see what you got, I think it's game over. So super cool. So let me ask you, when things started to kind of pick up a little bit for you, what changed behind the scenes for you? Did anything change behind the scenes, or has it just been, let's double down on growth, let's make our business better and our processes better? Or was there a shift in mindset at any point there?
I wouldn't say it was let's double down on growth. It was more like let's double down on the process. Let's really streamline this thing so that we are the Archer, and Archer is like a banking software that kind of crept into banking compliance. And no one likes Archer. I want to be liked. I want Proposabid to be liked in compliance. So becoming the archer of compliance for property repairs and those bids and estimations for auditability, and also the streamlined process of being able to get your needs met for those bids and estimations from the property side. So in that we are very focused on that process versus growing, because the growth part, I guess, will naturally come. I'm still wrapping my emotions around that because it hurts sometimes, right? And doing a lot of postmortems on my bids, on the processes, and going back in time and figuring out what my clients like, what would have worked better for them, how would they have liked to have seen a particular flow. So that mindset of the postmortem for me is definitely something that I shifted to. I'm also doing a lot of reading, Crossing the Chasm, and there's a few other books, Tony Robinson, just to understand business. So I think the parts for me is having the strength to continue on. I'm in year 4.5. I'm in this weird growth hair stage, and you're gonna cut it off, or you're gonna let it grow.
I can't relate. I can't relate here.
Yeah, and so that's where I'm at, and it's like, we're gonna let it grow. It's gonna be painful. So what do I need to soothe the pain and not be an avoidance, not be blaming or anything like that, but really face that. So I'm in that stage. Yeah, and I don't have any. I talk with my friends and the people I meet, and they're uber successful, they're way past that, they've already done that, they got several businesses, and they give advice, or they're not quite where I'm at. And so just being in this space has been where the business is, because that's where I am. So now the next stage is separating the staff and myself so that it can flourish on its own while we continue the process and build out and use AI. We use AI now, and that economy is wide open and wild. So trying to figure that out with Proposabid, but it's all, the mindset itself has been expansive, painful, tender, and enjoyable. I mean, I'm enjoying it now because I know what I'm looking for, and then also it's reevaluating what it is we do for our clients, and how do we articulate that. So that's changing like every few months. What is our message?
Yeah.
We just don't do 4 bids and you keep it moving. We systematize at an infrastructure level, and that started to take shape about 1.5 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think what you said resonated there, in the sense where, look, growth is painful, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to the gym doesn't feel good when you're lifting the weights and you're sore after, but it looks good to feel good, and and then it feels good to look good, and then obviously you reap the benefits on the health side there. So yeah, power to you on that. Now a question for you is, now because we're talking about growth. If your business suddenly doubled in the next month, what would need to evolve to keep things fun on your end instead of chaotic, right? How do we, what are there things that you've looked at or that you've explored to say, hey, if we're going to go and double up here or grow, so that I don't feel so overwhelmed, like how do what are things you've maybe looked at in that sense?
Yeah, I think there's 2 pieces to that: is the who, not how. And so finding the right who's, and that is the right people, as far as like creating the workflows themselves, right? And I would also say the second piece would be, to keep it fun, is having the right clients. Huh. In that
That's a big one. A pain in the butt client can be, look, you want to work with people that you like working with, right? And it doesn't matter if you work for a boss or if you work for your clients, but at the end of the day, you want things to feel copacetic. You want to feel heard. You want to feel understood, and you want to feel supported, both as the owner of the company and for your clients, right?
And so typically we are, the 250K mark and up for the budget. However, we do, the $10,000, $15,000 projects because the client is the right client, and they may have other projects down the line. So I would say the client would make it fun, and then also having the right people in place to help with to continue the automation that would need to happen, the SOPs, and standardizing that and those things, but the pieces are in place. So yeah, I would say those two things.
Okay, gotcha. And now, what does success look like a year from now? Let's jump into the future for a moment.
Right. I think success for me would be just that smile I just had.
I love it. I love the smile come out.
Yeah, I haven't been able to really articulate that because every day is a successful day lately, even when it's hard. I'm not going to talk about the ROI, but I will say probably some getting in the right rooms with the right people in the industries and having conversations would be successful for me. And then, of course, the clientele, the right clients that need this product. They need to have defensible bids. They've got insurance claims. They've got fires. They've got, we live in, we're in California, SB 721. They've got balcony inspections. They have needs that need to be handled. So that would be successful, is that I have the right clients helping with the right products that we're able to offer.
Gotcha. So it's the fulfillment, right? It's feeling fulfilled, feeling validated in what you're doing, and obviously being around like-minded people that you rock with, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. I think you're building something super cool here. So where can people find you and learn more about, whether it's you or your business?
Yes. I'm on LinkedIn, RoDevia Brigham. You can reach me at RoDevia. That's RoDevia at proposabid.com. Phone number is 408-353-2769. I feel like I'm in an automation right now. And so the website is Proposabid, proposabid.com. And I usually pick up by the second ring. Would love to hear from you, whoever you are, and see how we can help. Proposabid also does complimentary bid evaluations. If you got some bids sitting in your drawer, you're not sure what you want to do with them, or if they match up, we'll do that for you for free. And then give you next steps. You can also reach me on my Calendarly, which is on my website under Contact Us. And book some time. I'm very much available to assisting all those who would find our product of use.
Awesome. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get your links as well, and I'm going to throw that in the description of the video. So if anybody wants to check that out, you'll have it right there, and we'll throw it up on the screen for you as well. So that's super cool. Well, I just wanted to sincerely thank you for the time today, and obviously wish you continued success in your business. I'm really looking forward to picking back up with you in probably a year from now, so we can talk about where you are and what's been happening there. Also, really cool to update the viewers here, so everyone can tag along for the journey.
Yes.
Before we wrap it up, any last minute shout outs that you'd like to give out here?
Ooh. Wow, the list is long. I think I want to give a shout out to my partner for putting up with the initial grilling of how this thing works, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Also to the friends and family that have supported me, and also my mentor, Martin Bond, Oliver, Miss Campbell, and Miss Cable, you, East Bay Toastmasters, the John Stewart Company for giving me opportunity. If you're listening to this, John Stewart, FPI Management, who I've worked on properties for. I'd love to hear from you again and help you with that. Anybody that's given me an opportunity to speak, just everybody. Really, everybody's been on my A+ list over the past 2.5, 3 years. The first 2 years was just like me by myself. Yeah, it was tough. So now, just being surrounded with like-minded folks, Bobby Sharma from the Bay Area real estate, who gave me a platform to speak on. I bombed that. I know Bobby. That was like the second year. And anybody else who comes into my circle, into my life, I appreciate you. So this is future. This is future.
I love it. It's so refreshing to speak to you, just being such a wonderful person. Obviously, being thankful in itself, I think, is a gift. And yeah, I'm thankful to you for coming on here and giving me a little bit of time. I know you're really busy and you got a lot going on, so I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I guess we'll wrap it with, look, this is going to wrap up this episode of The Builders Behind the Brand. Stay tuned. Our next episodes, we're always going to get the inside scoop on more amazing entrepreneurs, just like RoDevia. And until the next one, keep learning, keep growing, and always remember to stay hydrated.